Hey, market's looking pretty good, right, guys? Yeah, it's something like that. So let's get into it. Honestly, let's talk about the news on the market. First up on the docket, we got U.S. GDP shows signs of growth, guys. Yeah, we got the numbers, and they were pretty good. Yeah, so let's see what they got to say.
Tonight, President Biden in Syracuse, New York, celebrating the new numbers on the economy today. Unexpected good news on GDP. The gross domestic product, of course, a measure of goods and services produced, increasing 2.6% this last quarter. The president saying the deficit now cut by $1.4 trillion this year. The president in Syracuse.
Deficit was. I didn't even know the deficit was at 1.4 trillion. When did it get that high? Oh my God. Man, the deficit. So like the national debts, I know is like 30 trillion or at least. So just the amount we're adding to it was cut by 1.4 trillion. So I mean, definitely not getting rid of the debt anytime soon. Just getting rid of what we're adding to it each year.
Syracuse to highlight a pledge by the U.S. company Micron to invest up to $100 billion there to build semiconductor facilities in central New York, creating jobs and making those chips in America.
Today, the GDP results came out, and the economy, in fact, is growing. So economic growth is up.
But yeah, remember that 100 billion figure. So I'm gonna come back to that in a minute.
The price of inflation is down. Real incomes are up, and the price of gas is down.
So let's bring in Terry Moran live at the White House there tonight. And Terry, Americans, of course, still dealing with inflation, but these were encouraging GDP numbers today. The president obviously trying to make the case for voters here with 12 days until the midterms to stay the course. That he points to these GDP numbers saying this is the right policy and that a change in course would not be good at this point, but it's a tough case to make.
It is, David, because, of course, the economy is not numbers, it's people's lives. And President Biden himself acknowledged that, saying he knows it's, quote, still tough for a lot of people. And then there's the fact that while voters have consistently been telling pollsters inflation and the economy are their top issues, Democrats have been investing a lot of time and effort in emphasizing abortion and threats to democracy. That's been a controversial strategy within the party. And so now the president out there trying to make this good economic news front and center in the midterms. It is good, historically low unemployment, and for now, this bounce back in economic growth that you mentioned. But any veteran politician will tell you that it is hard to change the argument in an election this late in the day.
Biden, I don't know if Biden necessarily wants re-election, but he does want the Democrats to win. You got towards the end of next year, 2024, we're going to have the actual elections. So that's something to keep in mind, guys. I also want to bring up too that Biden's actually looking to get rid of that national debt. He's looking to get rid of the national debt default that we got coming up. So you've probably been hearing around it in the news now lately that we're approaching our debt ceiling. I feel like that's an outdated concept, if you ask me. But we have this debt ceiling that we're not supposed to breach, and we hit it. And they had to either raise it or we had to stop spending money. And we're talking about the U.S. government. So what do you think they're going to do? Well, I'll let you hear the head honcho himself, the big zombie. Let's hear what the zombies got to say.
Last quarter of 2022, the economy grew 2.9%. Last summer, plenty of Wall Street analysts were saying that by the end of the year, there'd be a recession. They've been telling me since I got elected we're going to be in a recession.
Guess what? That's because we're in a recession. I know. Isn't that crazy? That's so crazy.
Time we've gotten better. Well, it turns out, thank God, they were wrong. So there's another group, the House Republican leadership. As I said, it's not your father's Republican Party. It's a different breed of cat. I call them extreme MAGA Republicans. Not all Republicans are there, but a distinct minority of 30 to 40% of them. As I said, they seem determined to be the party of chaos and catastrophe. Look, I'm ready to work with Republicans that I've demonstrated to the chagrin sometimes of my Democratic friends who want to make progress for the American people. I'm ready to compromise if there's something good we want to deal with. But like many Americans, I was disappointed to see what the very first bill the new House of Representatives passed along party lines added $114 billion to the deficit, reducing taxes on the wealthy. They campaigned on inflation. They didn't say if elected they planned to make it worse. And the very notion that we would default on the safest, most respected debt in the world is mind-boggling. I'm not going to get into the reckless threats and take the economy hostage in order to force an agenda that's going to only limit American workers and weaken us internationally. I won't let that happen.
I will not let that happen. There you go. He said it right there. Yeah, fucking he had to gargle his words a little bit there for a minute, but yeah, he got around to the point eventually. They're not going to default on the national debt. And you heard in that previous video, they mentioned very briefly there that not only are they going to raise the debt ceiling, they're planning on spending $100 billion in semiconductor infrastructure, guys. Like companies like NVIDIA, AMD are going to benefit massively from that. I just caught that while listening to the news right now, and I just wanted to bring it up. So I took a look at NVIDIA stock, and sure enough, it's been up almost 28% in the last month, guys. Last three, 50, almost 50%. AMD, same story. It's up 16% on the month, and 25. It's looking like it's actually hit a rough patch here, and it kind of flattened out. I think it's still got room to run. I think both companies still got room to run. But, we seem to be in a little short-term, bull market, just overall in the stock market. So that's definitely caught my attention, and just hearing them talk more and more about semiconductors and how they're going to try to integrate more U.S. companies, they're doing better for just better semiconductors here in the U.S. I had to look at NVIDIA, and I'm thinking there's more room to run here. You see, it was pretty flat on the day, even with Biden coming out and talking about how he's planning on doing semiconductor spending. And AMD was actually, I think, down. Yeah, it was down on the day, about 3%. So I think that's weird how AMD was down on the day that the market was really up. So that really caught my attention. And it happened after hours. Usually, if you see a massive drop like this after hours, usually the stock's going to recover the next day. That's one thing I do. That's one thing I do actually believe, and I have noticed that you see a massive dip down, the stock's either going to just keep crashing to the floor, which I don't expect. Not in the little bull run we got going here. Very small bull run. Don't get married to it. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I do expect the stock to actually run back up, because you got to see that massive crash, like I told you, or you see the stock just rebound like crazy. So I'm expecting the coming days, maybe even into early February, I would expect a lot of these stocks to recover. I especially expect NVIDIA and AMD to recover, because there's a lot of bullish sentiment around just the stock market in general, and then the government's really pushing that semiconductor agenda that's really going to benefit these stocks. So, but keep in mind too, guys, these stocks trade very expensive. NVIDIA trading at a PE of 82. That's very high, especially in a macro bear market like we're in right now. So I would say medium term and long term, I definitely expect more downside. 44 on AMD, which is respectable. It's a lot better, a lot more reasonable. Still very high though. Still very, very high. Keep in mind too, these are very large cap companies. 120 billion on the AMD. I think NVIDIA is around 300 or 400 billion. So very large companies, but almost half a trillion for NVIDIA. Now, I actually hold NVIDIA long-term, full disclosure. I'm holding NVIDIA in my long-term portfolio as a stock I'm planning on holding for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Semiconductors are a long-term secular trend. They're not going anywhere. Computers are just going to be more and more prevalent as we get older and older. Technology is just the way to go. Earnings, they've had rough earnings over the past couple years because of all the problems we've had over the past couple years. So they're just going to be. You can see this is definitely a trend down. And it might improve a little bit or hang out down here for a while. I don't see it improving anytime soon though. But again, with the spending that is obviously going to come to these companies over time, they will definitely improve massively. So keep your eye on the semiconductors, guys. Not just necessarily these two. So maybe check out Taiwan Semiconductor. Maybe check out Intel, even Intel. Maybe get a little boost off of this. So just a couple stocks I'm looking at, guys, off the news, and it's always good to look at the news. I definitely think it's always good to look at the news, because you get some useful nuggets of information out of it sometimes. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to be it for the video. And leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Links down in the description if you want to support the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.